Ms. Foley.
Good evening, President Curry, Mr. Barker, members of the board. A couple of weeks ago, a dear friend of mine asked me how the school year was going. I told her that I was very excited to be working with my students again, but that this year was horribly difficult, incredibly exhausting, and that I honestly didn't know how we, the teachers, were going to make it through the year. She's an engineer and not a teacher, so she asked me a simple question. Why? Why is it so bad? She wasn't doubting my statement, but she was trying to understand the trauma that I was describing, particularly in light of the fact that her own children's teachers still seem so happy and cheerful. And I struggled to answer her question. I struggled to help someone not in the profession understand. And after a very, very long time spent considering her simple question, I think I have a simple answer. Everything about my job has changed. Everything. Let's start with the beginning of the school day. Students enter our classrooms earlier than before. It isn't a great deal earlier, but it's earlier nonetheless. A few minutes less time for us to center ourselves in preparation for a busy day. A few minutes less to push aside our own personal fears and worries. A few minutes less to slip into character to greet our students with the joy, happiness, and enthusiasm that they deserve. Once students enter the classroom, many of our elementary teachers begin their day with potential increased exposure to COVID as students eat breakfast unmasked. Instead of beginning the day with clever activities and engaging experiences, these teachers wipe up spills, clean up crumbs, and re-sanitize a classroom that was not designed to be used as a cafeteria. Once breakfast is finished, we start the learning process. At all grade levels, extra time invested in keeping passing periods, lunches, recesses, and physical space safe has eaten into our instructional time and dramatically reduced our preparation time. We have fewer minutes to prepare lessons and fewer instructional minutes to work with students who are already behind in their growth due to our community lockdown in the spring. In education, we devote a lot of our precious planning time to chunking, making sure we break down concepts and skills into pieces small enough for the students to process, but large enough to challenge them. With our instructional time shorter and our instructional environment radically transformed, we've had to chunk materials in ways we never have before, to fill in learning gaps and to move our students forward the best we can. Our virtual teachers must figure out how to do all of that through a computer screen, often with students who can barely read or have difficulty processing. Our secondary teachers must figure out how to do that in not one, but two meaningful ways at the same time for those students in person with us and those online with us. For our elementary teachers with in-person students, they must do this while maintaining social distancing requirements, routinely sanitizing, and monitoring the health of their students. The simplest activities of our day are no longer simple. At the secondary level, attendance is no longer a matter of marking Kelly absent. Instead, I must mark for every student whether he or she is with me in person, with me online, or absent entirely. A 10-second task now takes me a couple of minutes. If I want Johnny and Sally to work together on an activity because they're both struggling with the same concept, I have to document the date, location, and duration of time that they sat together, just in case we need to contact trace. Student needs to borrow a pencil or a calculator. Here, borrow mine, but let me sanitize it first. Students no longer turn in their papers. They take a picture, save it as a PDF, upload it into Canvas. It then takes me 3 clicks on my computer to access it and another 2 clicks for me to leave a comment. I must find a way to teach hands-on science to students participating virtually when the only scientific equipment I can count on them having at home is a clock. How do I do that? I must be able to monitor, engage, and support students on a Google Meet in my room and in my room at the same time. How do I do that? And what of the whole child? One defining characteristic of School City of Mishawaka is its emphasis on the whole child. When we're teaching students, we deliberately and intentionally try to address their social and emotional needs along with their academic needs. But how do I do that now? No high fives, no pat on the back, no hand on the shoulder and support. No opportunity for a personal conversation with the student because they're on a Google Meet and there's a dozen other students listening. I've had 4 students lose family members this year and realized with horror that I could only support them through email. It's harder to read body language when they're masked or out of focus on a camera, harder to tell when they're having a bad day or needing a sympathetic ear. My heart aches as I watch my online teenage students sit in dark rooms, huddled under blankets, sinking deeper and deeper into depression before my very eyes. These challenges have taken their toll in a devastating way on your teachers. Most hold it together until the last of their students have left the room and then dissolve into tears on a daily basis. Most of your teachers have seen their mental and physical health deteriorate at an alarming rate. Depression and anxiety are rampant among our ranks, as are many other stress-related illnesses, like high blood pressure, chronic headaches. I was told by a colleague familiar with the horrors of PTSD that he could see the same haunting symptoms in the teachers as they left the building at the end of the day. Almost every teacher speaks of trying to keep their head above water. I've frankly given up on the idea that I can stay above water, and instead I'm praying that my oxygen tank holds out. We love our students. We love our profession. For us, it's a vocation, not a job. And for many of us who are spiritually inclined, we see it as a divine calling. But we're in serious trouble. We cannot sustain the status quo for much longer, and we're begging for your help. We will be part of the solution. We will work together with you to find a way to ease the burden, but we must do something. We've already lost good teachers who have walked away rather than go on like this. We can't afford to lose any more. I've lately taken to sharing another analogy with colleagues. We're always putting kids first and doing what's best for our students. But those of you who have ever been on an airplane know that when the airplane is in distress, the safety procedure calls for adults with children to put on their own oxygen mask first and then take care of the children. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to give our teachers permission to put on their oxygen masks. Thank you.